There lived a princess in a distant land who was so pretty to look upon. But she turned into a hideous creature every night. This happened when she was little. She went into the forest playing with her brothers. She was bitten by a creature which caused her a great agony, and this began a strange disease in her that caused her to turn into a hideous creature every night. This caused the fear in the whole kingdom, and the princess pitifully had to be thrown out of the kingdom. Her father had to take such a decision as she was a threat to the whole kingdom. She used to roam in the whole kingdom like a vile creature, trying to attack the people of the kingdom, and the people were fearful and complained to the king. The king heavy-heartedly sent her daughter to exile and never to return to the kingdom. The princess left the house and roamed in the distant lands for days. Then she reached the spot of trolls. The trolls were afraid to watch a human. The trolls came closer to the princess and looked at her and asked her why was she here. She answered that she was banished from the kingdom. As she turns into a vile creature in the nights, hence was she exiled from the kingdom. The trolls sent her to their wise leader. The leader of troll said, "Is she the one who was bitten by a lycanthropo?" She said that she did not know who bit her, but it turned her into a bad creature whenever she had a bad or a vile thought. She was unable to get rid of these thoughts. She had the ugliest thoughts at nights, of killing someone, of having physical indulgence, which caused her to turn into a creature of darkness. The uglier the thought, the stronger the nature of the hideous creature. She could not ease herself from thinking these thoughts. The leader of Troll advised her to go and find the Book of Pure Thoughts that lies in the dungeons of Kadosh. The dungeons are dark and dull. The troll showed her the way to the dungeons of Kadosh, and she moved to the land for the sake of finding the Book of Pure Thoughts. The troll advised her to say a word to open the book. The princess marched with a bright hope of the future, and she could get rid of the curse she had upon her that caused her life to be miserable. After passing through the jungles of darkness and howling in the wilderness for days and nights alone, she made it to the dungeons of Kadosh. The dungeons of Kadosh were dreadful and fearful. The troll advised her to not look at the natural but be not feared by the visible, for the caves are not scary but a mirage to scare the people from staying away from the book, for the book had a divine nature. The princess remembered the advice of the troll and did not reckon the visible but saw the invisible that was beautiful and awesome. After the princess walked into the dungeons of the Kadosh, she began to be snared by the fearsome creatures of the caves like snakes, scorpions, and crabs crawling on her feet. She was afraid and began to fall under fear. The princess again remembered the word of the troll and saw beyond the visible, and all the ugliness of the situation was gone. In the end, when she was about to reach the book, she began to see the visible, and there was roaring dragon that was flaring flames through his nostrils. She became fearful and fell down with great fear. There came an angel of the book to rescue her and gave her food as she was weary from much toil. The princess was put back to sleep and woke up in the morning. The princess was rested and was reminded of the word of the troll and marched forward without fearing the visible dragons, but she saw beyond and the reality was peaceful. The princess was unfrazzled by the dragon's roaring. After she passed the dragon's roar, she reached the Book of Pure Thoughts. The princess retrieved the book, and it was an ancient book of golden age. She picked up the book and went outside the dungeon. She rested at the foothill and sat on a rock and opened the book. The book was majestic to look upon. She spoke the enchantment to open the book. The book revealed itself a little angel that would accompany the princess to help reading the book. The princess called the angel Serene. Serene was very beautiful and comely, too gentle. The princess asked her about the book. Serene answered and said that it is a book that you need to open, and I will help you wherever you find it difficult. The princess opened the book and began to read about a prince who was in love with an unknown woman. She was an ambiguous figure not known to the prince in the book, but the prince loved her so very much. He would transform into different figures and characters to woo her beloved. He changed her appearances in order to chance her love upon her. The woman in the book also began to fall for her, but due to weakness of eyes to see clearly her beloved and the prince would withdraw himself to the gardens of myrrh upon the high mountains. The princess then closed the book and went to mountains for food, and she forgot what she read in the book. Her thoughts were diverted from the story of the book and were upon the natural circumstances as it was night. She began to transform into vile creature. Serene looked upon her ill state and made her remember the story of the book, how the man wooed the woman. The princess began to change into the human again. Serene said once upon a time the prince of the book came to the woman to meet her, to woo her. But she said, I have removed my veil, shall I put it on? I have washed my feet, shall I dirt them? The prince yet knocked the door and the woman was too lazy, but she wakes upon as he was knocking the door, and her bowels were moved with excitement, for her lover came to woo her. She opens up the door and the beloved had been gone. She finds him in the streets to seek his presence. She gets mad and vows not to let him go next time after she finds. She asks someone that where has her beloved gone. They said he had gone up the high mountains to the bed of myrrh. The princess understood not to take her eyes off the prince of the book to stop becoming a vile creature. Serene began to tell her the way of the high mountains where the beloved Saturday. The princess wanted to desperately to see the prince, as she had continually heard and read about him days and nights. Serene showed her the way to the high mountains and told her the stories of his valor, might, romance, meekness, majesty, prowess and his locks. The princess began to fall for him as she was constantly wooed by the prince through the narrating of Serene and the book. The coals of fire in her heart was flamed with an endless desire to see the beloved. Days and nights, Serene spoke about the prince who wooed his woman and gave his life for the woman and rose again from the dead. When they were about to reach the high mountains, the princess was completely transformed into a beautiful and the most gentle human with no blemishes and scars and curse. She had been free from the curses since days. Now when she climbed up the mountains where the bed of spices were, the prince stood afar, and when she saw the man she fell off her horse as she first set her eyes upon him. He was so handsome to behold, and the princess never wanted to take her eyes of him. The prince wooed him from a long time and at once filled her in his arms with love. He laid all day between her breasts as he also longed to be loved. She accompanied him in the banqueting hall, and the banner over them was love in his kingdom. They married each other, and the cursed princess was blessed indeed.